welcome to this week's edition of The Link. Thank you very much for continuing to join us, and we believe and hope that we add value to you in terms of information that benefits you. If you want to get back to me on somebody you want to host on this discussion, my Twitter handle is @SetSam, at SETTSAM. Get in touch with me. Tonight we're discussing oil, the news of the pipeline signings between Tanzania, Uganda, Sinok and Total, not Talo, was all over the news on Sunday and subsequently. But now I want to bring down the conversation to how does it affect you, especially you business guys in Uganda. Tonight my guest is Mr. Peter Mulisa, Chief Legal and Corporate Affairs Officer for the Uganda National Oil Company. Peter, welcome.
Thank you, and good evening, viewers, and good to be here.
Briefly, there was a signing between two governments and two oil companies. What was actually signed?
Thank you. So the agreements that were signed, three. The host government agreement between Uganda and the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Company. And that agreement basically regulates how the investment will be managed in Uganda, the government commitment to protect the investment, and rights and obligations between the two parties. That agreement is very important for the financing of the pipeline, because financiers generally want to know that the governments are supporting or behind the project. And so the HGA helps us to achieve that. The second agreement is the shareholders agreement, which is an agreement between the entities that are going to own the pipeline, that are going to invest in the pipeline. And these entities are UNOC, Uganda National Oil Company, Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation, our counterpart in Tanzania, Sinok and Total. So that contract regulates how we shall own, operate and run and manage the company. So that was also signed. And it basically means that the four of us are committing to investing our money into that company that will basically construct the pipeline. And then the third contract is the tariff and transportation agreement, because the pipeline is solely constructed to transport crude oil from our fields in the Albertine Graben. And so they are owners of the crude, and the owner of the pipeline have signed an agreement, the tariff and transportation agreement, to regulate how that transportation will happen, what the terms are, what the obligations of each party is. And so those are the three major agreements. Just to say that those three agreements were the only remaining agreements for us to move from project preparation to execution.
Okay.
So for now, we are moving to a phase of execution. And I do believe people have been waiting for that magic name, that magic word FID, but this is really us moving into execution. Because that's what it would mean. And so what you will see after this is contracts being awarded to contractors who will build facilities in the upstream, Terenga and Kingfisher, as well as construct the pipeline.
And you ended very nicely on the word contracts, because that's where we are going. The link is about opportunities. So I know that some contracts have been ring-fenced for Ugandans. Quickly take us through those areas.
So briefly, when you go to the National Content Regulations of 2016, those who can access them, and they're on our website, they're on the website of Petroleum Authority of Uganda and the ministry. They identify 16 areas that are put in the schedule based on Regulation 10, that based on the industrial baseline survey, were found to exist in Uganda. The capability to provide those services and goods exist in Uganda. And so they were listed as ring-fenced for Ugandans. So the oil and gas companies that are running the upstream, Total and Sinok, as well as the East African Crude Oil Pipeline that has been formed that is going to construct the pipeline, must give those services and goods to Ugandans, or companies that are Ugandan. And there are subtle differences between the upstream laws and the midstream laws, and we cannot go into the details. But those services include, I will list a few. You can go to that to the regulations and look at them. So clearing and forwarding, human resource services, waste management where it's possible, provision of security, civil engineering, clearing of bushes and basic civil engineering, There are 16. So just to go to that schedule and look at them.
I know time won't allow us, in fact, but guys, you need to do homework if you're going to tap opportunities. But now let's move into technical a bit. Who can access those contracts? I know you say Ugandans, but which Ugandans?
So any Ugandan, citizen, company, business name. So if you are organized as a partnership, let's say, and I will give an example that is familiar to me, law firms. Most law firms are organized as partnerships. It's a legal entity. It's allowed in the law. So you can access as a partnership. If you're a company limited by shares, you can also access as a company. If you are a business name, so Peter Mulisa and Sons Limited, and Sons, enterprises, it's a business name. You can still access because you're a registered entity.
So but even as registered, yes. I've taken note of that, registered.
Yes, but even as an entity, Peter Mulisa as an entity, as an expert, or as a service provider, individual, I can access, I can bid, and I can win a contract and execute it. But let's go back to the item of registered, which you've picked. So, well, a company must be incorporated.
Yes.
So there must be documentation that confirm that you're a company in the company's registry. So is a business name, you must have a certificate of registration, and so is a partnership.
Yeah.
So those must be registered, first of all, in the company registry. Then we have another register that we call the National Supplier Database. Now, that one is managed by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, because the Petroleum Authority of Uganda is the regulator of the industry. So its duty is to make sure that we, the players in the industry, are doing the right things, including obeying national content requirements. So what the basis was for forming this National Supplier Database is that we realized that at some point, if we say there are Ugandans who can provide security services, we must be able to prove.
Yes.
So if you don't have a registration, a register that says I have 10 companies that provide security services and they are Ugandan, they are able to provide security services. So don't go to hire companies from Dubai or from wherever.
Yeah, you do fronts.
Yes. So now what we've done is that now you have that National Supplier Database. So a company cannot say, oh, I failed to find these services, when we have a register that indicates Setumba and Company Limited exists and it is able to provide these services. So that's the importance of that supplier database. And nobody will supply oil and gas unless you're in that supplier database. So what I would encourage Ugandans and our viewers today is please do register your company, your business name, your partnership on the National Supplier Database. It's very easy. It's online. You can do it from the comfort of your home, your office, even a restaurant. And it's very simple. The requirements are very basic. And do go in, register, indicate your area of interest, and it will help you a lot.
Finally, Peter, what's realistically expected of anyone who is going to play in this space? Yes, I'm registered, I'm on database, but what do you realistically expect of me to succeed?
So it's the basics. And one of the things that you have to invest in is the ability to look out for opportunities when they come. If you miss the announcements of bids, if you miss the adverts, if you miss the timing that was required, you'll miss out. So that's one. Look out for the opportunities, know the timelines of those opportunities, apply, bid in time. The other bit is know how to bid. Yeah, so that may take some learning, some equipping yourself, some hiring somebody who will be able to support you in the bidding, so that you meet all the requirements in that bid document. Don't fail at the documentation stage. And if it is still difficult for your company or for your entity, we have friends who are supporting this process. So you have like the Stanbic Incubator, go to them. They are helping people in understanding what is required. How do you bid? How do you put together the information? How do you present it? How do you put together a winning bid? Because you're going to compete with other Ugandan companies, definitely. And at some point you may compete with non-Ugandan companies that have done their bids for a long time. So invest in making sure that your bid is solid, that it answers all the requirements as listed in the invitation for bids. Then lastly, there are certain standards you must have in place.
Yeah, I will think about those certifications and stuff like that.
Certifications and all these things. And there have been a lot of conferences and workshops and trainings for SMEs and other entities explaining to them these certifications. Now, they are not really objects from heaven. No, they are simple items that you just need to know how to put together. And once you have what is required and you apply for these certifications, you will get them because other companies have got them. So if you are in the space where you don't know what certifications you need for what task, come to us, come to PAU, go to the ministry, go to Stanbic Incubator, go to companies, Ugandan companies that have provided services to the oil and gas industry before, because those exist. And they've done this. So you can go to them and say, help me understand how you went through this, how you got the certifications. Some of them may cost money, and that may be a bit of a challenge, where the cost is a little high. But I do believe that many banks have put in place arrangements to support SMEs and other entities. So just identify your needs, and let's work together to find solutions to your needs to ensure that you participate. And
I hope one of these days we're going to bring one of the banks, which is, I want to mention it, which is championing funding SME. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Mulisa, for taking us through in this short time. Ugandans, you have had oil. People say, those things are not ours, they're yours. But opportunities exist. However, it's not going to be put on a platter. You need to do something about it to get it. Thank you for joining us tonight. That was The Link.